So, how can gaming benefit your life and your business? Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. And today I have a very special guest with us today, Tony Jalan. And Tony Jalan is certified by the John C. Maxwell Leadership, is a business growth strategist, and really just a pioneer and just a amazing voice in the leadership and mindset development space. So, thank you so much, Tony, and welcome.
Hey, glad to be here, Dan. You want to go by Daniel or Daniel? I just thought about that.
Daniel, I go by the full thing. Yes.
I love it. My son's name is Ezekiel, and people like try to call him Zeke, and he's like, "No, my name is Ezekiel."
hmm
So I love it. All
That's
right,
the
got
yep. No, absolutely. That's yeah. It's written Daniel, and I always go by Daniel. So yeah,
it.
absolutely. No, thank you so much and welcome. So Tony, I know you've definitely done a lot in the leadership space and in mindset development, and I think coming from the gaming world too, and kind of helping with some of that. Uh, some people like to think and try to understand like, all right, what is maybe we'll start with a basic question: what is leadership, and what is leadership to you?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll quote John C. Maxwell,
Okay.
and he goes, "Leadership is one word and one word only, and that's influence."
Influence. Okay. So it's just and is it how you influence, the amount of influence? And
I think a lot of it comes down to like how you influence yourself.
mm,
I think to be a better leader for others, you got to grow yourself. Like leadership is an inside outside job.
aha.
And you got to become more aware. And once you become aware, you got to then acknowledge those strengths or those shortcomings. And then you got to take action on it afterwards and have a little sprinkle of accountability around it.
There you go. And that ties into the other piece of it that we said at the beginning too, the mindset, right? And just having eh, that right mindset. And I know there's especially for my audience, not everybody coming from like the personal development or growth background. And so they hear the word mindset and it's just it, and I don't know if I've talked about it too much on the show, but as far as what is a mindset, and when we talk about growth mindset, and I was hoping you can maybe break it down for just kind of the newbies for the personal growth space, and what does that mean?
First, I'd recommend a book that helps really give you a context around it. It's called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And she's really one that helped pioneer the research and the science behind the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I'll give you one example of it. Like in our home, the word can't is a swear word
Aha.
because that means it's limiting, it's done. Like, and for me, it's like, it's not that you can't do something, it's more so, are you not willing to do something?
Because there's a big difference between the physical ability to do something
Right,
that's impossible versus just the willingness to get it done and
right,
doing and the amount of effort that it might take to get that done.
right. And I think too is saying like, an example of fixed mindset versus growth mindset would be, well, that person has been doing it for 20 years. So, that's the reason why I cannot do it like that. And then the growth mindset said, hey, just because you have 20 years experience doesn't mean you've executed successfully. You know,
Yep.
just because I stand in a garage doesn't make me a car.
Right. That makes perfect sense too. Yeah.
But it's a mindset of like, I'm a victim of my circumstances versus a
Mm.
victor of my circumstances. A victor says, you know what? I may not be able to do that now, but I can get there, right? They say a key term of yet. Hey, I'm not
Aha.
there
Yeah.
yet.
But you can get there.
Right.
And it might just take the effort, the consistency, and the action to actually
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah. That's 100%.
And so one of the things I wanted to talk about too is this kind of ability to transfer, right? The transferable skills we say, as far as moving from gaming into real life
Mm.
and moving these kind of skills over. And one of the things that crops up, I think, for gamers is that understanding that real life has real life consequences, right? So when you're playing a game, everything is just, it's all fun. You might get frustrated, but at the end of the day, win or lose, who cares? It's a game, it has no consequence. But when we get out into the real world, we have real world consequences. So there's this kind of idea of, yeah, I'll say that there's kind of the two extremes that happen, I think, for gamers, where they're used to taking risks in the game, and maybe they pull some of that out, and then they take a little too much risk. They push too much boundaries. Maybe they step on too many toes or burn too many bridges.
Mhm.
And then you have the other side, which is, oh, it's different now. It's real world. It's real world consequences. I'm going to pull back. I'm not going to take action, and I just need to hide. I just need to shy away from this because I don't want to get burned.
Mhm.
Right. So how would you, yeah, I guess, how would you, yeah, help somebody that, to get this kind of growth mindset to say, like, especially the people that are like, oh, there's real world consequences. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. In terms of people who, what you're saying is people who are willing to take the risks in the games, take those chances in games,
Hmm.
how do they translate that to real world scenarios?
Exactly.
That's a great question. I think there's patterns in our thinking, whether or not we're playing a real world game or a game on your gaming console.
Mhm.
And I think be able to like have an awareness like, okay, in a game, for example, level one is pretty simple a lot of times. Like, yeah, I got through it, right?
Yep.
But as you advance levels, it gets tougher. It gets more challenging. It requires more thinking and more strategy. Also, sometimes when it gets tougher, we give up.
Yeah.
So then taking that same experience and going, you know what? I give up pretty easily with new games, unless someone's there in the circle saying, hey, come on, Tony, let's do it. How often does that happen in real life? Because there's our patterns to our thinking. We all follow a system, whether we consciously know it or we don't know it. We all follow a system. We all have a pattern. Example, you get up in the morning. You have a pattern that you follow. Now it might be, subconscious. You don't have to think about it, but it's still a pattern. And I believe that there's no secret to success. It's about the systems that you have in your life.
Okay. So no magic bullet. Right. So,
There's none. No. I mean, we all got the tools, we all got the resources, right? It's never a lack of resources that keeps people from being successful. It's a lack of resourcefulness.
mm, that's really interesting because, and to take the gaming analogy, uh, back to it, I think gamers, when we play a game, the game is the same
Mhm.
regardless of who plays it.
Yeah,
Right. And it's just different levels of people's, whether it's skill level or the amount of time they practice or play, or just, like the way they think about it and the way they approach the game is different. And especially these open world games where there's a lot more choice.
right.
Everybody handles it a little bit different. Like the way I do it, the way, my friends have done it, the way my wife has done it, it's like I wouldn't have thought of that. And they get to a certain answer quicker, easier than maybe I did.
Because they're coming
It's
from a different perspective,
it's
right?
kind of from a different perspective, even though it's the exact same game, it plays the exact same way.
What I think too is that gaming actually helps you develop a growth mindset in ways that traditional environments often struggle to get to.
Mm, tell me more about that.
So, and I was really, I mean, especially when it comes to leadership development, right?
Yep.
For one, failure as data, not your identity.
Yes. That's one of the, for those that listen, I know I've had that example too, is that failure is one of the big ones for me, where failure is so easily understood by gamers as a learning experience.
Right,
It's you lose in the game, you die, it doesn't matter, reload, reset, retry.
right,
I've learned something, I will do better next time.
right. I mean, it really reframes failure fundamentally.
Yep, exactly. Which is why I think there's a little bit of yeah, I guess confusion for gamers when they get out into the real world where they may fail and they see other people, like either A, they get punished maybe more so than expected, right? Because there's this societal pressure that says like you got to be perfect. You got to be amazing. and you don't have time to learn. Especially in a corporate environment, it seems like there's a lot more of this, like, don't bring your failures to your boss, right? You need to come with solutions. Don't, and sometimes don't ask for help in some of these companies, which is really weird to me. Is that something you've experienced?
Oh, 100% so. I mean, I remember years ago when I would get a phone call from one of my previous leaders, I would literally get tense and stressed. Because I swear the only time I thought he called me when there was something going wrong or he needed something, right?
Yep.
But I think if we ask ourselves, all right, if this was a game, how would I approach it? No,
Yeah.
all progress that we've ever had was always preceded by a question.
Yeah.
And when we learn how to ask better questions, we get better results. And yes, there's in the corporate world, there's this, oh my gosh, if I really mess this up, this is not going to be good for my job. Okay, well, you might be right, but I've learned too is like the higher you get, less people know what the heck they're doing. They're all just, I mean, it sounds good and everything like that, but let's give this a shot. I mean, think about how many businesses that Amazon has bought. Like, oh, this looks really good, but they failed immensely.
Yeah.
But again, failure versus data, right? Or failure as data, not identity.
Exactly.
And I truly believe, like in business and in life, if you're not willing to fail and or look like an idiot, do you really deserve to succeed?
That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
I mean, because I've made countless errors. Like, I mean, I could tell you stories. I was one time on a call with one of my senior executive leaders, and we're talking about recruiting. And recruiting recruiting 100% commission-based salespeople on top of it. And I was having some results, not results. It was the end of the day, and I felt I was doing everything I needed to do. I was exhibiting somewhat of a fixed mindset, right? And he's asked me about the numbers, and I'm like, well, if you have a better way, I'm all ears. Now, the tone in which I delivered that question, I was like, uh-oh,
You're like,
this isn't going to be good. And rightfully so, I heard it. And I sat there in the parking lot. I can still tell you this day where I was at. And I called back 45 minutes later. I go, I just want to apologize about that conversation there. Like, I could have done a better job of owning it versus making an excuse. He goes, no, I get it, Tony. So we had a great conversation from that. But I think one of the things where gaming, like, again, naturally cultivates a growth mindset, it's like around effort and strategy.
yeah. I think it's the amount of effort. So understanding that you have to do the work, right?
Yeah,
Because when we get into our lives, we want everything to be easy, and it's just like, but we're not willing to do the work. But in games, I think the analogy in games is like the only way to get good or the only way to beat the game is to play the game,
right.
right?
Oh, so true.
But then in our lives, we don't do the work to get what we want sometimes, where it's just like, oh, I wish everything would just work out.
Right. And the thing is, life doesn't get easier. You just get better at handling it.
Hmm.
You know, like here's the way I look at it. I've seen people get more emotional over a game than they do it in regular life, right? I've seen TVs get broken, things get kicked, machine get kicked. I mean,
Controllers thrown across the room. Yep.
right. I mean, I believe like games make the relationship between effort and improvement like incredibly visible. Like you can
Yep.
watch your rankings climb.
Yeah, that's one of the key aspects of, I think, too, is that games give you that feedback, right? Like the instant feedback that says like if you're doing well, you get rewarded immediately. And there's like the whether it's level completions and progression and like gear and level ups, and then you also get punished, it's also very immediate. Like whether it's, taking damage, your character dies, you got
Right.
to reload, whatever it is, you get that instant feedback. So it makes it so clear, I think, in gaming, that this kind of level of effort, like you're saying, and how you're rewarded. So when we get out of the game, this is where the challenge hits, where it's things that happen aren't necessarily giving you feedback immediately.
Right. But
So,
that's where reflection comes into play, though.
mm,
Like, I remember when I used to play my Nintendo games back in the day, and there was a Nintendo magazine, and I would lose. I'm like, oh, I gotta go back and look at that magazine. Like, I know they had these cheat tips in there. We didn't have that, go on your browser right away to look. Or you'd strategize with, if you're playing doubles, that's how we'd call it doubles, right? Yeah, so,
mhm.
okay. You strategize, okay, you take them from this angle, you take them from this angle. But it caused you to reflect. And I think one of the things as leaders that we fail to do in the real world is reflect and then inspect
Mm.
and then in turn redirect.
Okay, so we have to, so reflecting on kind of our past experiences and what's happened,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And then you said inspect was the
yeah,
second.
yeah. Inspect it. Like look back. Okay, okay. Here, like call a spade a spade. That sucked. Oh my gosh, I completely bombed that appointment. All right. So you're aware. You're now acknowledging it, and now you can take some action. All right. Okay. So inspect. Like, where did it go well? Where did it not go well? And if I was to come across this again, how would I do it better? What's the one thing I would do better?
And then that leads to redirect, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So understanding that process so that you like, because you mentioned that before, is like having these systems in place is really what's going to help you. And I think what you're saying is like also make it more automatic, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to have like the conscious thought constantly like this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do better at this. Da, da, da. It's if you put it on, the game, if you put it on rails,
Yeah.
it just lets you coast through it much easier and less effort needed, less thinking, willpower, consciousness that you have to worry about.
Well, you got to write your own instruction booklet. You got to
That's
write
what
it
it is.
down.
Yep.
If it's not documented, it doesn't exist. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I was up this morning at 2 o'clock in the morning because I had an idea in my brain. And then I just kept on sitting there. And of course, I did some, doom scrolling on the internet. And I sit
Classic.
there and I go back to bed and I'm like, ah, all right, wait a second. What am I doing? Get my notes app, write all in my notes app, and I get it on my brain, you know? And then I go ahead and I'll have a call later today with someone to go ahead and talk about it.
Okay. Yep.
My thoughts are now organized. I've got a system.
Yep. And I
And
love even taking the action to not only write it down, but to also follow up with someone and talk about it, really, to really like make it more visceral and real, because you can engage with someone about it too. I think that's really cool, really powerful too.
well, I think that's where the other thing that gaming really comes into play because it really teaches you that learning from others is a strength, not a weakness.
Yes.
I mean, think about like the gaming culture, like, and people are making millions of dollars now, celebrates learning from better players.
Yeah. How many of us have watched a YouTube video
Mhm.
on how to do something in a game, whether
Yeah.
it's just a simple tutorial, how to beat a certain boss or level?
Mhm.
We go to YouTube to see how somebody's done it.
Oh yeah. I'll
It-
tell you the fact. When I played Madden football, and it's like and I hadn't played it for a while. So all of a sudden I'm sitting there and we do this Madden Bowl for our holidays at home. And my son and my brother-in-law, they'll take the weakest team to play me, right? But not this year. Not this year. I had a solution. I was gonna go to YouTube and I was gonna find the best place to run. And like I only need 4 to 5 plays to really be good at it. And
Yeah.
he's gonna have to figure out a way to stop it. Um, but that's what I think is the greatest thing about gaming. It really teaches that that learning from others is a strength and not a weakness.
That's fantastic. That's yeah, we haven't talked too much about that on this channel. We've talked a little bit about teamwork for
Yeah.
sure. And just, playing with other players really helps build that teamwork aspect too. Especially, like the multiplayer or the MMOs or some of the like even like the Call of Duty stuff, like the shooters and stuff. You're working together. But it's a very good point, and I love that fact bringing up that you also learn so much from just watching others, right? That level of really just, mentorship basically in a
It,
sense.
it is because I mean it translates to leadership, right? It translates to leaders who actively um, seek feedback and then learn from their mistakes publicly.
That
And
is
then what
true.
that does,
Yeah.
it also models continued success for their teams.
Yes. That's good. Because learning from your mistakes and having showing that even publicly too, I think also brings that level of authenticity too, to say like this is a real person, this is someone you can really resonate and connect with too, as opposed to like some of these overly produced or overly edited type videos where you're like, I don't even know it's real anymore.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I was talking to someone yesterday, and we're talking about like, the importance of bettering relationships, that you've got to intentionally focus on bettering relationships, whether it be with your staff, your spouse, friendships. Like you got to be intentional with it and understand like what's the outcome I want. And he's like, well, how long you been married for? I'm like, I've been married for 20, going on 23 years this year. I go happily for 19 and a half and 20. Because anyone who marries knows I mean, it is the ultimate personal development program out there.
There you go. Yep.
You got someone else that you are committed to and responsible. And if you have a family, even more like if you don't want a girl, just stay single. And I'm not gonna go ahead and like hate on any single people, but I just know that I've learned a lot in personal growth. The times I was emphatic and feeling that I was right, I was wrong because I felt like I was right. You know,
Oh, too funny.
But I mean, I think that's the other thing we're talking about this yesterday, my wife and I, because I was talking about being on this podcast. I'm like, the thing about gaming it does, it actually like rewards experimentation.
Yes, absolutely. So it plays a little bit into the failure
Yeah,
piece of it that we talked a little bit about, but it really is about the kind of pushing the envelope, right? Because that's what gamers we love to do, is just to see where we can push the game and push the medium to say like try everything, right? Because that's how you find the cool stuff. That's how you find the secrets. That's sometimes it takes walking into a wall for like an hour to be like, all right, one of these is a secret door I know somewhere, and I'm gonna find
right.
it.
Well, that's why I mean I like playing chess. I'm a big chess guy.
Mhm.
And I think with gaming, it teaches you that like intelligence is malleable. And chess, I think, really does it because I'll come up
Yeah.
with my patterns right. And like every one of us has been crushed by someone, especially if you play chess. And they seem impossibly better. Like my son for years could not ever beat me in chess. And I ensured that he knew that I beat him. But but through study and practice, you get better. And I'll never forget the day he beat me in chess. He closed that gap,
Wow.
right? And I was like, dog nabbit. So, but he learned my tendencies. He learned my patterns and my systems. And I think you learn like what's the word? Viscerally? Is that the one I'm thinking? I had a word.
Viscerally. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. That strategic thinking, pattern recognition, and decision making under pressure are all skills that can be developed rather than fixed.
Yes. Love that. Yeah, and it's a great way to look at it too. You're developing the skills
Mhm.
by playing the games.
Yeah.
Because and it's funny that you mentioned the beating you in chess because I had kind of a similar example with a friend. So, did you ever play Smash Brothers?
Yep. Yep.
So we were doing, I think it was Melee at the time when I was in college, and I was definitely like the top Smash player in the dorms, and had a best friend of mine that was really trying to like learn like I put in again we talked about effort like I put in a lot more hours. I love the game, so I played a lot more a lot more hours. Should have
Right.
been doing schoolwork, but whatever.
It
Well,
is,
that's a different thing.
yeah.
But he would do certain things where he would look at some of the tendencies the way I played, and so he'd have to really plan out and do like very specific things so that he could hit me in a certain way and knock me off. And I was like, wow, that's really impressive. So like he would learn these kind of tendencies to get to that level so that he could actually fight me specifically because that's like he specifically targeted me because I was like because I was at this higher level
Right.
and I'll say that it seems like there's no better way. Like pick your mentors, like pick your challenges, because I think it Smash Brothers, yes, but I think even in sports too, it's like if you play with people better than you, it will raise your skill level.
It has to because otherwise you stay in a place of comfort.
That's what it is. Yep.
And the truth is that, we all like comfort. Like in that morning, man, I like sitting there and go, oh, this is great, but comfort is the enemy to growth.
Hmm.
And we think about like all of our growth came through some type of tension that we've had, some type of struggle that we've had, whether it be in gaming or in life, right?
Yep.
And I think that's where another part where gaming really comes into play in terms of leadership development and business is that there's praise for process, not just talent. I mean, the gaming communities, when I go online and I look at things, they celebrate great plays or strategic thinking more than raw talent.
Oh, absolutely. But
That comeback victory, man, everyone's shouting from the rafters because it
yes,
represents learning and growth.
absolutely. And just the epic moments that you're just like, yeah, how somebody was able to do something just spectacular. One comes to mind. Are you familiar with a Battlefield?
Oh, I think is that the one you're almost like in an arena type.
It's one where there's like a giant like space where it's like different eras. So it's like it could be like World War II or it could be like
Oh
more
yeah, yeah, yeah,
modern.
yeah. I know Battlefield, like 1914, all that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Hey gosh, I forget which one it was. And people in the comments, I'm sure, will tear me apart what the actual term is. But there was a player that started a trend, just these epic moments where you could do get in vehicles and you could fly right in like jets and stuff. And somebody had somebody on his tail, and he like pulled up. He literally got out of the plane. Like, hit the button, exited the plane, and used a rocket launcher and shot behind him and hit the jet that was following him, and then was able to get back in the plane as it was falling. And people lost their minds, right? And so
What?
powerful, and so such an epic moment of like somebody that had just pushed the envelope and like used their skill and just everything the medium had to offer. And I think the latest one, I think Battlefield 6, actually included that maneuver in their trailer now.
Wow.
I was like, that's
But that's an
amazing.
example that's again praising, for process, not just the talent.
Yes.
Because he might have found that out by accident. He said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I wonder if," he probably asked himself, "Oh, I wonder if I can do this." And they're like, "Oh, that worked. Let's do that again."
Yep. And that's what, and it has since been modeled after that. And there's been multiple people that have recorded their own version of that where they had to like, they use that as the model, like, because it was such an amazing, epic move that they're like, all right, how do I do that?
Right? Oh, I remember many different games over the years, like where I figured out a different play, a certain play, and they couldn't stop it, like from Madden,
Yeah.
right? They couldn't stop it. Like, or like my son was beating me for a while in chess after a while. And another lesson from chess is you got to have focus. And you got to sometimes step back and see the big picture. You got to see multiple moves in advance, right? The good
Yep.
ones, so to speak. And so I'm like, all right, I was playing against a computer or someone else, and I did a non-traditional movement.
Hmm.
And I won. I'm like, oh, let's go back and reflect and see what happened
Yep.
here. Let's see if I can do it again. Because they say a lot of times you're like their first five moves. Bill Walsh, the former coach of the 49ers and Stanford, Super Bowl winning coach. He was known for scripting the first 10 or 15 plays out of every game. No
Huh.
matter what happened on the other side, the first 10 to 15 were always scripted.
Interesting.
And you look at
Huh.
chess, a lot of players that playing you the first time, their moves are scripted.
Yeah.
And so I started doing something different and I started beating my son. He's like, I'm like, yep, I'm 1-0 today, and that's all that matters today, not yesterday.
Exactly. But it is that it's that sense of disruption, right? And change. Because I think that's also a very good gaming thing is that gamers are highly adaptable,
Yep,
right, to the situation. Especially just the very it's inherently built in, right? Because you don't play just one game
right,
usually. You might play a game for many hundreds of hours or something, but
right,
eventually you're playing different games. And you have to adapt to the different games, right? Every game is a little bit different. Even if it's a very similar genre, a very similar game, it's always a little bit different that you have to even just adapt to. Much less jumping from genres, right? You're like, I'm going to play my first person shooter and now I'm going to play a strategy game and now I'm going to play a, you know, building game. And you're like, these are wildly different games and you have to navigate all the changes.
Well, and here's the interesting thing about that. Like some of these games where, you improve your rankings, your style of gameplay will get you so far. And eventually you start to top out
Hmm.
unless you adapt.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with life. The ability and skill to adapt, I think, is one of the most important traits in life. Because if you don't adapt, you go extinct.
I love it. I have to write that down myself. That's
No.
fantastic.
Well, believe me, it's like I've learned over the years that what got you here may not always get you there.
Yes. And that's great advice that I've heard before too, is that and that's kind of the counter also to the adage, this is the way we've always done it, right? So what makes you think that it won't continue? And even in the financial space, right? They even give you that warning, like, past performance is not an indicator of future.
Yeah. You know, it's a catch-22. Because we know some things work.
Right.
I mean, for goodness sakes, look at the wheel.
It's why we
Now,
call it don't reinvent the wheel because
right.
the wheel's a
But
wheel.
there's been different iterations of it and
Yep.
how a wheel is designed. We're not gonna have wooden wheels anymore on our cars. And I think so often we mistake the form for the function of whatever we're doing.
Mm, yeah.
And it's like, well, if I'm not able to do it like this way, then it's not going to work. I go, but are you going to get the same result though? Like that's one thing I've learned in coaching, and I also coach athletics.
Okay.
And so I coach professionals and whatnot during the day. I also coach, athletes at night. And at the end of the day, I'm just developing people, equipping people. That's what I do. But I used to get so hung up on you gotta like do like swing the bat a certain way, or you gotta pass the ball a certain way. And I've grown to present day Tony and said, you know what? Are they getting the end result that we desire?
Yeah.
It may not be pretty, but is it getting you the result?
And it's sometimes overlooked in that way, but yeah, there's so much in that. I think I've heard it. Tony Robbins call it, the tyranny of how,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you get wrapped around that axle of
Yep.
how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? It's like,
Right.
well, sometimes it might not be the cleanest, easiest way, but if you're getting the result, I mean, that's what you wanted, right? You wanted the
Right.
result.
And that's the end of the day. Is like I think for growth, it comes down to three questions. What's the outcome you're after? Like clearly define your outcome.
Mhm.
Why do you want that? What's the purpose behind that? I should say four questions.
Yeah.
Uh, like, why do you want it? Like, what are you going to gain from it? But also, what is it going to cost you if you don't do it?
Yep.
I think I'm more motivated by the nightmare versus the dream at times.
Yeah, that's very true. There's a lot of us that would much rather, or it's much easier, more motivating to
Mhm.
avoid pain than it is to move to pleasure.
Yeah. And then I think the fourth question then would be, okay, what's my give me my roadmap? How am I going to do it? So
Yep.
number one, what's the outcome I'm after?
Yep.
Two, like why do I want it? And three, if I don't do it, what's the cost? And then four, okay, how am I going to do it? Because there's multiple ways to do it.
Right.
But if I go ahead and get, put like house sandbags on my feet, I'm not going to do anything. And I'm going to dwell on it, spin it around a million times. I'm like, freaking just make a decision.
Right. And that's so powerful too. That could be a whole discussion right
Oh.
there.
Well, I looked up years ago the root meaning of the word decision. It means to cut off.
Oh, okay.
And so if
Hmm.
you think about it, no change happens without a decision.
Yeah.
No progress happens without a decision. Where you decide to do something or not, you got to make a decision. And they go, well, what if it doesn't work? Well, my question is, well, what if it does? In my role, well, like one of my roles, 100% sales commission, lived in North Dakota. And in 2010, they asked me to go and take over a non-performing division in Wisconsin. I'm like, wait a second here. So let me get this straight. I'm doing pretty all right, I feel, in North Dakota,
Hmm.
Um, and you want me to move to Wisconsin, where I don't know a soul. The team's been underperforming for 5, 6, 7 years. They've had more managers than Cleveland Browns had at time head coaches. And you want me to go backwards in income of 40, 50 grand.
Right. Because you're still 100% commission at this point.
100% commission.
Wow.
So this sounds like a great strategy.
Yeah. This is a great deal. Like,
Great deal. And my wonderful wife said, you know what, just like what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? All right, well, worst thing going to happen is that,
income level drop.
income level drop. Well, I've already had nothing, so it's not going to really matter. Like, I know what that feels like, so it won't be new to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so we did it. And, the and within a matter of a couple of years, we scaled the team. We're one of the top performing divisions in the company. And years after that, I mean, we went on this streak of, constantly number one, constantly number one. And but the most gratifying part about it was we were changing lives. Like we were
Yeah.
developing leaders. And that's what got me jacked. When I saw one of my sales reps, my sales leaders, all of a sudden, go ahead and take their mom on a hot air balloon ride in wine country. And it was a goal that they written down 2 years earlier on a sheet of paper.
Wow. That's cool.
This was a dumb idea initially, though.
Right. It
Right?
didn't look super appealing or it didn't look
No.
like a smart plan, but
If I would have thought through all the hows, I would have never done it. Because the truth of the matter is, I didn't think about the hows for about a month.
mm,
And I'm like, you know what? This is not doing anyone any kind of justice. Just make a flipping decision.
that's
And I really have learned over the years that for me at least, faith and fear cannot coexist.
mm, that's powerful. Faith and fear cannot exist together.
Right.
So good. And I love that example. I love just the ability to I like that cut off, meaning to make a decision and move forward and not worry as much about the how. And I like in your four questions, the how's the last one, right?
Right.
That's the least important. Being clear on what you want, being clear on why you want it, what's going to happen if you don't get it, and living in that. That's such a powerful one too, just to say like it's like, well, what if, what if everything goes wrong? It's like, yeah, but what if everything goes right? And what have you missed out on as a result? And then only
And,
then do you have to think about the how.
right. And I think, again, we talked about earlier, like all progress is preceded by questions. And I truly believe our lives are like a combination lock. we get all the numbers. But if you can have all the right numbers, but you don't put them in the right order, you're not going to unlock it. And the same thing happens with our life.
Yep.
And for you to call out, that's a great call out. It's like the how was the last question here.
Yep.
Like you think, okay, what's the end result that I'm after here? And then you just write it out and make it real. I truly believe if you don't document it, it's not real.
So that's everybody listening. That's your homework. You got to document it. You got to make it real. If you make
Doc,
your goals real.
if you don't document it, it doesn't exist. But you know the coolest thing is, I was talking to one of the people I get to have an opportunity to coach, and um, he wrote down his goals, and he was going through his finances this year, and he says, Tony, I'm 5 years ahead of where I wanted to be.
That's awesome.
But would he have been able to celebrate it if he hadn't written it down?
Right. Would he have been able to even say it that way?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Much less actually embody and live it. Yeah.
Because I think there's times when we're sitting here, at least for me, wondering, am I getting anything done? Am I really progressing forward in my life? Is this all there is?
Hmm.
Well, how do you know if you don't know where you've been? And you,
Right.
you write it down. And
You
that's
write it
why,
down, you measure it,
yeah,
right? Because how can you expect to celebrate and know how far you've come unless you know where you've been,
yeah.
right? And again, gamers, this is what happens in games, right? We you especially play those RPGs, right? There's an XP bar, there's a level system. Be like the only reason you're level 50 is because you used to be level 26, and you had to progress through that and progress and progress.
And that's life, right? And I think one of the challenges too is that when we talk back about that fixed mindset versus growth mindset,
Yep.
and you play that player that's completely like waxing the floor with you in the game, like, oh my gosh, he pops up on your screen like, oh, this is done. I might as well go make some popcorn right now.
Yeah.
But you gotta understand, like he's on mile 25
Yeah.
and you're on mile 1. He's on chapter 30 and you're in chapter 2. How fair is it to him for you to compare where he's at to you or you to him? How fair is that? It's
Right.
not.
And we do the same thing in life, and it's so unfortunate. We look at those, whether it's the Instagram reels or the TikToks, and we're just like, gosh, look at how successful they are. They're so far ahead.
Mhm.
But that's what you're comparing it to a highlight reel, or you're comparing it, at best case, or yeah, and at best case, it's like, well, they're just simply ahead. They're just simply years ahead of where you are. Like, they've been working on it for years. You've been working on it for 2 months. Well, of course they're ahead.
Right. And I think the part of the challenge, I think you talked about this earlier, Daniel, is that everyone wants to be on the mountaintop, but not everyone's willing to do the climb to get there.
Yep, exactly.
I
They
mean, I
look at it.
remember when
It's just
this
so
was
big.
years, like, I don't know, I came around maybe 5, 6 years ago, and a friend of mine visited my house, and he just sat in our driveway going, man, I'm so proud of you, man. Like, look at what you've done. And I'm like, he goes, I just wish I could have done the same. And I'm like, well, you could have, man.
Yeah.
He goes, what do you mean? I go, I'll show you what I did to get here. Come with me.
Yep.
Went down my basement and I showed him some of my goal books.
Ah,
I showed him all the books on the walls. And I have like I have whiteboards and stuff like that with my different plans and my dreams and stuff like that on them. He goes, he goes, I used to make fun of you for reading your books, for all the things you did. And he goes, you laughed at me. I go, man, possessions mean jack to me, right? I have this house because I have a family of 30 nieces and nephews. So
wow.
I wanted to host something crazy for my family. I want to
Yeah.
host things for my family. And this wasn't, I mean, I wrote this back in 2006, 7 of what our vision for our life is, right? Where we wanted to go.
Yep.
And I just took that leap of faith. And if I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, you might have to be okay to be looking like an idiot. There's numerous times I can tell you I've been an idiot.
Right.
An idiot sign was flashing above my head. Idiot. Dumb blink, blink, blink. I can't believe you did it. Signs flashing. And I'm still growing, but I was willing to take those risks. Thankfully, I had people that are willing to go ahead and push me off the cliff at the same time. I've had some great mentorship in my life, and I was curious. That's it.
That's it. So powerful. I can't think of a better story to end on there, Tony. This has been fantastic. So, gosh, so much value, so much cool things for everybody listening. And I guess the only question I have is where can people learn more about you and find out more
Well, you
about
can
you?
find me on Instagram, Tony Jalan Leadership Mindset. You'll find me on there. LinkedIn, Tony Jalan, Jalan, not En, by the way.
Okay.
People do that often. And then, I mean, just shoot me an email or message me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And, I developed something that I've been doing now for 2014. It's called the Clarity Blueprint. And it's a guide to help you gain clarity and hopefully in turn get some more confidence.
There you go. Guys, I hope you definitely check out Tony Jalen, and just learning more about leadership. And I hope you guys got so much out of this. I know I did too. So this has been fantastic. Gosh. So thank you so much for being on, Tony. And one last question before we go that I
You got
ask
it.
everyone, which is what is your favorite video game?
Ooh, Godfather.
The Godfather. Nice. Fun choice. I haven't heard that one yet. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, guys, stay awesome. And I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it.